Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another Ask Here live studio session. My name is Joan, and I'm a student recruitment officer with Memorial University. Joining us today, we have Dr. Simpson and Dr. Craig from the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. But before we get started, I just have a couple of housekeeping items to go over. So this session is being recorded. If you're participating, just an FYI, you're consenting to that. Your mics are muted and video is turned off. So that's just to help easily facilitate the session and reduce the bandwidth. But if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. That's the main reason we're here today. So send those along for sure. And today's focus is the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. So we want to keep our questions related to the arts. And if you have a question that you pop in the chat and we don't get to, don't worry, we'll direct message you in the chat before we get off the call. So to get us started, Dr. Craig and Dr. Simpson, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and your roles within the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Simpson. It's really good to be here. I want to thanks Catherine and Joan for organizing this, and thanks to Ailsa, my colleague, for being here. Ailsa and I are really glad to talk to whoever shows up. And we are going to Ailsa and I will make just some really brief comments about the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. It's kind of a long name. Sometimes we just call it HSS. It used to be called Arts, so a lot of people at MUN think of us as Arts. Ailsa's going to talk a little bit about what the disciplines are, the Humanities and Social Sciences, what that means. What I'm really excited about for students is what HSS does or what it covers. And what we like to talk about in HSS is that we're going to help our students find both meaningful work and a meaningful life. And I think what we really think about or focus on in HSS is how to engage social issues and community well-being. And the language that I use a lot, I've actually written a lot about this, and sometimes the language I use is that our faculty and our students, what we think about are the practices of living together well. And what that can mean is anything from how do we respond to a health crisis like COVID, where a lot of people need good communication and they need support from community organizations and government agencies. That's part of what HSS does. There's all kinds of other areas in government or industry or not-for-profit or education or health service where HSS graduates are making really important contributions. A really quick fact, and then I'll turn it over to Ailsa, that in Canada, all 10 of the last 10 prime ministers have been HSS graduates. So it's important. We're excited for all of the students who are coming into HSS because there are so many opportunities out there and so many possibilities for all of you to both kind of figure out how can I make this degree work both for meaningful work for myself and for a meaningful life. So with that, I will turn it over to Ailsa.
Just making sure that I'm unmuted and actually present. My name is Ailsa Craig. I'm Associate Dean Curriculum and Programs for HSS. This has already been introduced. I'm also a member of the Sociology Department. As Dean Simpson noted, we've got 15 different departments, and I believe it's 22 programs that ends up encompassing within HSS. We have certificate programs and diploma programs in addition to the majors and minors. Now, some of you may have already thought about what you might want to major in or minor in. And some of you may still be undeclared and still exploring what your options are. And one of the things to keep in mind is that if you have already chosen something, or if you're about to choose something, you can always change your mind about what that will be. So it's not set in stone. So we do understand that when people are coming in, that as you learn more about the disciplines through the electives that you're taking, through different courses that you're exploring, whether you've declared or not declared, that you might change your mind. So I've ended up in sociology, but it was a long route getting me there. So I have I graduated with a sociology and creative writing double major. I think I'm one course shy of a communication studies major somewhere in there. And I probably got most of an English major done as well, and a little bit of anthropology. So there are many different ways. There's not one sure route to where you're getting. And there are lots of different supports available through your departments and through the advising center as you make your way through what is ultimately your path through the degree. And it's about making the degree work for you. So lining up with what Jennifer was saying about how it is that we have all the past 10 prime ministers are all graduates of HSS. There's one of the things I used to also work in academic advising that people would say, well, the question, what am I going to do with the degree? And the question is, yes, what are you going to do with the degree? Because there is a huge range of options of what you're going to do. And that will depend on how you pair it with possible work placement or volunteer things. It depends on which courses you take major. While there is sort of a surefire path for some professionals in order to become that, that's a handful of jobs. Everything else comes from people who come from faculties like the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. And it's about the skills that you build, what program you end up being in, whatever your major is, whatever your minor is, if you pair it with a certificate or not. That there are some skills which are developed across all programs in HSS, which are really central skills, which is also the fact that other faculties at MUN mostly require people to take our courses because we contribute both to individual students and to the larger world is really central to, as Dean Simpson says, the practices of living. I have a tendency to go on a little bit long when I get excited, and I got excited, so I'll stop now in case there's any questions or anything that people want to bring in.
Absolutely. So there's certainly a lot of diversity and ability to make your pathway your own in the arts, for sure. So just to take it to one of our first questions here, a student wondering how they should prepare for their studies in the fall.
Jennifer, do you want to take that or? No? Okay.
I'll contribute something, but go ahead, Ailsa, please.
Okay. In terms of preparation, there are the things which are the of and making sure that you're registered for your courses, making sure that you have the bookstore website to see what the requirements are for that, and those are one thing. There's also make sure that you check out the correspondence that comes through the Monday mail. Of course, that's spelled MUN because we're MUN. So the Monday mail has a lot of different important resources that can start thinking. And I know it's difficult sometimes to think about how we're going to work campus life. Campus is coming from whatever home office you're working in, but there is still that's happening, not just the courses. So think about ways that you can get involved through the Office of Student Life, and that's where the Monday mail comes in. You might have to work a little bit harder to make sure that we feel the sense of community that comes in the hall, but it's still there, and we're all really eager, at least on this end, to welcome everyone.
Awesome.
That's all great. It's a really good question, and I know people listening are probably thinking a lot about. It's funny because I don't teach as much as I used to, but one question I used to always ask on the first day of class, which was a really good conversation, was, what are you most excited about for this term, and what are you most nervous about or afraid of? And it was always a good. So I would really like to hear from all the listeners about. I just like talking to students. But I think to Ailsa, to your comments, to Dr. Craig's comments, I would add that your support systems, like know who your support system is, know who your friends are, know who you're going to call on when you're up late with homework and you have a question or you just want to get some support. I think I say a lot to students, and I remember my own going through school that to get a degree, we all need support. So where's that going to come from for you? We all need support. that support might be at the Writing Center, different supports on campus. There's a student support office. I think just like Ailsa said, kind of keeping familiar with what's on the web, with certain contacts. If you get emails, just hold on to those. There's a little description on the Dean's Office website about what we're excited about, what we think that you'll be doing in HSS. You're welcome to, if you just Google Dean's Office HSS, you'll find that, or MUN. And then another thing I'll just remind you of, which Dr. Craig referenced, is you're the driver. Like, this is your education. And I know that's hard to get your head around because you think, oh, all these professors, they've studied for so long, they know what I need to know. But it's your educational program, and we're going to be with you every step of the way. But what I really want from you, and this is what I say on the website, is to hold on to your questions and passions and interests. Like, what you care about matters. And I want you to hold on to that. I want you to remember that. And I want you to bring that with you to your classes in the fall. And yeah, you're the driver. So like Ailsa said, reach out, like look at clubs and organizations on campus. It's your car. There's a lot of people in the car with you, and we're all trying to help you out, but you get to be the driver. It's your education. So that's my response.
Awesome. And just to add to that, another student's wondering what they can do to connect online with other students within the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences.
A lot of that is through the Office of Student Life. And again, it's through the Office of Student Life that Monday mail comes. So there are often links to different things that are happening there. And if students go to the Office of Student Life website, then you can see what kinds of events are happening. Sometimes there are speaker series, sometimes there are panel discussions, sometimes it's discussion, sometimes it's study groups. There are all sorts of different things that are happening through the Office of Student Life. And it also, for those of you who have decided on a major or minor, it can make sense to reach out to your undergraduate liaison in your department to see what they have on the go. So while we may not be able to have a pizza party on campus, there may be different things that are happening at the departmental level as well. So the Office of Student Life is broader in its reach and gives opportunity to meet with lots of students from across campus. But if you're interested in meeting people who have the same kinds of curricular interests as you do, you can reach out either to your the undergraduate liaison in your department or to the department head.
Dr. Craig, can you tell us a little bit more about what an undergraduate liaison is?
Yes, sorry, I used lingo. I should know better than to do that. So an undergraduate liaison is a faculty member who is within a department who's agreed to be a point of contact for students who are taking that major or minor. So if you used English or sociology or history as examples, that each of those departments would have somebody that if you have questions specifically about doing your history major, you could go to that faculty member and they can answer questions that are specifically about that degree. So while you can go to the advising center or to the academic advisors around general degree requirements, if you want to talk about, well, I'm curious about what this course would contribute to that course, that you want to talk to somebody who's in the department, who knows that material inside out, and who has put themselves forward to be the main point of contact for those kinds of questions. And of course, you can also talk to your own professors, but and I hope that people do, that's really important as well. But the undergraduate liaisons serve as an additional support to the academic advisors to give more departmentally and program specific information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and in terms of departments, you mean, so for example, sociology would have one specifically for sociology. And if you were interested in learning more about what a course was about and that kind of thing, you could go to your undergraduate liaison.
Yes, yeah, you can go to your undergraduate liaison. And sometimes they may be able, if you can say, I'm interested in these kinds of questions, they might have a sense of more what's happening in the courses that are being offered, because sometimes the calendar descriptions, though they're helpful, don't have as much information as an undergraduate liaison might be able to provide.
Okay, and a student's asking, how do they know who these people are? Where do they find their undergraduate liaison for their specific unit?
All of the undergraduate liaisons are listed as part of the departmental websites.
Okay, so on the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences website.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'll make one more response to that question of how can students connect with other students, I think was the question a few minutes ago. As Dr. Craig said, I think when you can certainly ask your professors. So one thing to think about is when you get in your classes for the fall, you can ask your professors to set up discussion groups. So I just want to encourage students that that's a completely legitimate question. We want you to be comfortable talking to your professors, letting them know what you need. And they could certainly, in all of your classes, set up different discussion groups that would be a way for everyone to be in touch with each other.
Right, and that can happen all online within Brightspace in the course shell that they're on. So our next question that we have from a student is, do you have any study tips for learning online?
Study tips for learning online. Well, as with any learning, if you have to choose what time you're going to give to it, and see if you have it's something which is often more difficult online, both for studying and for people who are working from home, is making sure that you put boundaries around your time. Because if, say, your bedroom or your dining room is also where you study, to have a schedule, you go, this is when I am doing this, particularly if your courses are not happening at a set time. If you assign yourself a schedule, this is when I'm going to do my Soch 1000 readings, and make sure that you pay attention to the announcements, which there's an announcement section for each course that you're in. And that's something where whenever the instructor has something that they want all the students to know, they will put it in the announcement section most likely. So there are the class discussions that will happen on the board, but making sure that you read the syllabus and that you ask questions, and that you follow the instructions that are provided by the instructor, and be sure to reach out if you don't understand what it is that the instructions are, because sometimes people will write their syllabi and write the instructions and it's clear to them because they know what they want, but they've taught this course before. So if you have a question, then ask the question. And it can also be helpful to look and see what questions other people have posted publicly on any discussion boards, because oftentimes if one person has a question, other people have that same question.
Awesome.
I would just add really briefly. First, also I'm going to ask a quick question. I found a link to the 2019-20 liaisons. Would that be a good link to send out to people? Are those liaisons still the appropriate people, even though we're in the summer? Yeah, okay. I'll send that to Catherine. Sorry, that was a little bit of a side. Yes, studying online, everything that Dr. Craig said is excellent. I'll just note two things. It might be helpful to try to do one thing at a time. I know when I'm at my computer, I'm trying to do, like, I can go back and forth between reading an article, doing an email, looking at a social media account, like, and then 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh, what was I trying to read in that article? So I guess you have to figure out your own system. But I will say that my experience of teaching at university is that it can be a different expectation than high school. It can demand different kinds of thinking and reading and attention. And so what may have worked in high school, you might need to develop different skills for university. And I think that will be supported, particularly when you're at your computer all the time. So maybe I would just pay attention to how you work. So if you're at your computer and you can access your social media and your email accounts, is that working for you? Are you interrupting? I guess I think that students learn best when they can devote a block of time to really thinking about something. 20 minutes, half an hour. Like I often would say to students, even with reading a chapter in a book or an article, you might have to read one paragraph 4 times, and that takes some focus. So I think it's even more true with online, finding out how to carve out time, like Dr. Craig said, and really focus on that one thing. That's what we're teaching you how to do at university, is to really offer a lot of in-depth thought and attention to an issue. So that it might require a bit of an adjustment from how you studied in high school. Yeah, thanks.
That makes sense. And so we have about 10 minutes left on our call. Just a reminder to folks, if you have any other questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat. Just to add to that, when students are reaching out to their professors, what's the best way for them to get in contact with them?
With the transition to remote teaching, probably through the course mail. It would be the best way to get in touch with their instructors, because people will be paying attention to that course mail. So if you were to go onto the HSS website and search just the name of your professor, you will get an email address which will reach them. So there's that, acraig@mun.ca. That's going to get to me. And they'll likely say that. If it's specifically about that course, though, so I'm teaching a social theory course, for example, within that course, you can email the prof, and then I know exactly what it's about. So when the instructors are managing their time saying, this is when I'm addressing student concerns, you're less likely to sort of have it fall off the desk if your email is coming with all of the other student emails in the time that they've allotted to that. So through it actually is two different routes, which can sometimes be confusing, but always try first through the CITL course shell. And if there's trouble getting through that way, your back door is to try the one that you can search for on the main website, but always try through the web first, through the CITL course shell first.
Perfect. And our professors in HSS, they also have office hours. Is that right?
Yes, professors do have office hours, and maybe working them slightly differently, and that might vary across different courses. So some people, if people are familiar with Zoom, might set up a Zoom room where there's a waiting room and people get let in and let out, or people might say, my office hours are by appointment whenever you want, and we'll set up a time to chat. So most instructors should have set aside time, and it should be something that's listed on the syllabus within the course shell. So making sure that you read the syllabus, and that if you have any questions, if you're not clear on when the instructor is able to be available to you, it is always okay to ask. It's completely okay to ask that.
Students who are coming for the very first time to university, course syllabus, what's that all about?
Sorry. A syllabus is an outline of the course. So on the syllabus, my goodness, I don't even realize, you get embedded in this language, and all of this will become second nature. And I'm sorry that I imposed my second nature onto you like that. But a syllabus is an outline for the course. The syllabus will give you a description of the course. A syllabus will tell you what the readings are, and what the assignments are, and what the grade breakdown is. So you've got instructions on what's expected of you. The syllabus is in some way the contract that you have with your instructor about what it is that you're signing up for. So you should be able to tell from the syllabus, is there an exam in this course or not? How many quizzes do I have? If I'm doing discussion, what do you expect from me in discussion? How many assignments do we have? Do I have to make any choices about what I'm going to do an assignment on? Everything like that should be laid out in the syllabus. It's a roadmap for the course, if that makes sense.
And I'll just reiterate what those are exactly what a syllabus is. I think the really important thing, the quicker that students understand that it's an agreement that articulates expectations. And it is a contract. That feels kind of like, whoa, I didn't know I was getting into a contract. But it lays out expectations for the students, and it also lays out expectations for the faculty member. So it's a really good thing to have awareness of, and I will reiterate what Dr. Craig has said. If something's not clear, you can ask. That's a professor's job to let you know, here's how you're being evaluated. Here's how I'm counting up points for your mark. here's when you can expect this assignment to be due. So I know it can be scary again to go talk to professors, you know, and if it helps to talk to a friend about it first or whatever, but talk to us, talk to your professors, ask them questions. Say that, you know, you can even use those office hours to say, can we talk about this assignment? Because I don't really understand. So learning happens through these conversations. So I just encourage you to talk to us. Yeah, talk to us. We're real people. We like teaching. We want to hear from you. Yeah.
And I think in terms of wanting to hear from students, one thing that I am hearing from instructors and professors across HSS is in the transition to remote teaching, everybody is missing in advance that face-to-face contact. So if you've got a student saying, hey, can I Zoom you? That's not an imposition. So people want to connect with you. People want to be able to have these kinds of conversations. So it's always okay to ask, and let your professors worry about if they have time or not. Their time and their schedule is their problem to manage. It's you have to reach out and say, hey, I'm here and I was wondering if you could provide this, and then they can let you know when they're available and how to do it. But people are, you know, all of us are dealing with the reality of social distancing in different ways, but profs are human too, and we miss the human connection. And you know, I had a student the other day, one of my graduate students the other day, and I was just like, well, we can just chat now because I haven't seen you for a while. So we did all of our work and then we just chatted. I don't even know about what. So it's always okay. So I encourage you to reach out to your professors and to remember that contact is something that can be really important for you and for your professors as you make your way through the course and through your degrees.
And that's something that I found throughout my experience too. You know, my professors in throughout my degrees have always been really willing and wanting us to reach out and wanting us to talk to them more. So they want us to come chat with you. Just another question on co-op placements. So co-op is a paid work experience, usually within the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. There's a number that are available for folks, from what I understand. How are people finding those online now when they start?
The best bet for that, if you're interested in the co-op placements, is to talk to the people within the department who are making those placements happen, because they've got a sense of there are co-op placement officers who are helping people find those placements and who have lists of employers who have work by distance and things that are available. So that's it's talking to the co-op office, or to if there is a coordinator within the department. So poli-sci has a particular person who's in charge of that course, I believe. But the co-op office is the best place to make sure that you get the support. And the two people who are in charge of that are very thorough about making sure that people have full access to understanding what their options are. And co-op placements are still happening. It happens differently, but they are still happening.
Perfect. And we're just about at the end of our time here now today. Dr. Craig, Dr. Simpson, do you have any other final last words for your students and what you would like their experience to look like in their first year?
I can jump in. Something I didn't get a chance to say earlier that I think is really important is I think that sometimes when we show up as students, we think it's about what I'm going to absorb, right? But also think about what you can bring to the table, because one of the most exciting things that happens in a classroom is when the contributions of the students, so what you're thinking and the questions that you have, shape what happens in that classroom. And the profs learn from the interactions with the students as well. So do not leave yourself at the door. And as you're doing your reading, think about what your questions are. So it's not just about how am I going to remember this? I got to highlight what I'm going to memorize. Memorizing it and being able to provide it, sure, that's one part of it. But something that I've often said to my students is, I cannot take your brain out of the library. Like, I know this course material, but I want to know what you're thinking. So just to keep that in mind, that you are a central part of this university and of what we do at this university, and we want to know what you're thinking about.
Yeah, I would just add very briefly to that. We can't wait to see you in the fall. I talked at the very beginning about HSS as supporting meaningful life and meaningful work. For us as faculty, the meaningful part of meaningful work and a meaningful life is interacting with students. So we can't wait. We can't wait to see you. And we're really glad you chose HSS. And thanks for the opportunity to all of you who came. It was really fun to talk with people in this way. So thank you. And to the organizers who set it up.
All right, and thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions after the fact, feel free to email us at ask@mun.ca. If you're watching this asynchronously from the D2L shell later on, you can certainly send those along to ask@mun.ca. And be sure to check out our next session on Friday at 2 o'clock, which is about accessibility services. Thanks, folks.
Thanks. Bye.